something that's better and less expensive. And there are...
If you don't mind letting me finish, we can then have a conversation.
Kamala Harris Insider: Why we can't let Trump take our history. Although it likely would have been a MAGA wet dream, the Jim Crow era was a dark and dangerous time for our people. As we prepare to celebrate Black History Month, I can't remember ever feeling more pessimistic about race relations than I do right now. Donald Trump is back in office, and on day one, he banned all diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives across the federal government.
Our population...
We'll talk about packing the court then.
felt I had an obligation, even though politically it would have been good.
He rescinded an executive order signed by former President Biden focused on promoting racial equity. And earlier this week, he signed his own executive order to cut federal funding for schools that teach about so-called woke concepts like structural racism and unconscious bias. Since retaking office, President Trump has wielded his pen like a sledgehammer to destroy the diversity that makes our nation great. And while he might try to take everything from our community over these next 4 years, he can't take our history.
I'm speaking.
Obamacare, because Democrats wouldn't change it.
Vice President, I'm speaking. I'm speaking.
Speaking of history, it feels like Trump and the Republicans want to take us back to an earlier time. You know, back when people who look like them didn't have to see people who look like us at work, at school, at the ballot box, or at the water fountain. Although it likely would have been a MAGA wet dream, the Jim Crow era was a dark and dangerous time for our people. Violent mobs brutalized black bodies, to the tune of 3,446 lynchings throughout the country.
Explain. I had a choice to make. Do I...
Speaking.
Be important if you said the truth.
If still do not have a plan.
Meanwhile, Southerners began advancing lies about the true nature of slavery, and about the supposedly lost cause of the Civil War. Complete with newly constructed Confederate statues, Southern leaders succeeded in rewriting their history. During this time, a brilliant scholar named Carter Woodson began arming black folks with a powerful tool for resistance: our history.
Repeal the Trump tax cuts.
Mr. Let's talk about the
Please.
fact. Yeah, I'm about to.
Something that's better and less expensive.
After earning his Ph.D. from Harvard, Woodson helped found the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History in 1915 and the Journal of Negro History the following year. Driven to help the world see the Negro as a participant rather than as a lay figure in history, Woodson viewed his work as giving black folks a reason to celebrate, and forcing everyone else to acknowledge our greatness.
Because Democrats wouldn't change it.
Vice President, I'm speaking. I'm
It's
speaking.
going to cost our people.
As racial violence throughout the country intensified, he recognized that, if a race has no history, it has no worthwhile tradition. It becomes a negligible factor in the thought of the world, and it stands in danger of being exterminated. For that reason, Woodson established the second week in February as Negro History Week in 1926.
There always was. It's not very good today.
Well, let's
So no, but Susan, this is important,
Susan,
I want to.
Explain.
It breathed new life into Black America almost immediately, fueling the era of the new Negro and eventually the Civil Rights Movement. 50 years later, Negro History Week became Black History Month. In the nearly 100 years since we began to formally celebrate our history, we have continued to make so much more of it.
It's going to cost our people, our population.
Let's talk about packing the court then.
Felt I had an obligation.
Bessie Coleman soared. Jackie Robinson stole home. Dr. King dreamed. John Lewis got in good trouble. Thurgood Marshall toppled. Separate but equal. Shirley Chisholm was unbought and unbossed. Mae Jemison reached for the stars and grabbed them. Toni Morrison gifted us beloved. Barack Obama turned the White House black. Bob Johnson made $1 billion.
Be important if you said the truth.
If still do not have a plan.
I have concepts of a plan.
But if, Mr. Vice
Kamala Harris became the first but not the last. Black people are truly amazing. It's just as Carter Woodson predicted. We have used our beautiful history to inspire us to greater achievements. That's what we can say. Don't forget to support our channel by liking, commenting, sharing and subscribing. We thank you all for your support.
Let's talk about the
Please.
fact. Yeah, I'm about to.
Something that's better and less expensive. And there are...